take out the poser team.
I like that you think we're the team. I like
they told me I'm the enemy of disclosure, and I said, no, I'm the enemy of the posers.
Nice. Very nice. Awesome. Okay. So hello guys. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sion, and looks like we already got a few people popping on. I would love to know where you are from. So please feel free to put in the comments where are you at currently. You may not be there from there, but wherever you are right now, I'd love to know where you're at. We have people all over the world who come and watch this. Even on our guests today, we have people from the other side of the world. So that's really cool. But so we have James Gilliland, and I'm going to have each of them share a little bit. We have Mary Rodwell, and we have Peter Slattery with us today. Super, oh my God, this is like a dream team for me to have all of you guys together. James, this is your very first time to be on our show. So super stoked to have you with us. But what I'm going to do to start, while everyone is putting where they're from and a little bit of like a hi, I'd love to go around the circle, starting with James. I don't know how you guys are seeing this, but I see James and then Peter and then Mary. If you could just give a little tidbit about who you are, where you're from, your website, how you got here, what's going on in your world right now. And that way these people can all kind of connect and catch up to what's going on with you guys individually.
Great. All right. So it's my least favorite thing to do, but anyway, I'm James Gilliland. I'm the founder of ECETI and author of 4 books, multiple near-death experiencer. I've been contactee all my life, basically. And I don't know what else to say. It's like I just recently was given the honor of being the enemy of disclosure, which because I did disclose the fact that some of the people in there are planned opposition and they're not who you think they are. So, I figured that's my badge of honor. I think I'm gonna get a patch for my jacket. It says enemy of the posers. But and the shills and the other ones. But anyway. That's enough about me.
Yes. I'm getting Can you guys hear that? Shoot. Okay, let me turn this down. I don't know why. Can you guys have Facebook on your thing? Okay, there we go. I've actually been to ACETI a couple times, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. For those of you who have not been to ACETI or don't know anything about what ACETI is, we will talk about that. It's pretty magical. So, Peter, you were there when I was there one of the times. You've been on our show a couple times. Please share with us a little bit about who you are, what's going on, how you got here.
Yeah. So I'm Peter Maxwell Slattery. I'm known as an experiencer, but I delve into what we could say different modalities and techniques of helping people to connect within themselves and the multidimensional mind and family as well. So it's quite an honor to be talking with my 2 great friends as well as yourself here, because James and Mary have both been mentors of mine and great friends for many years now. And basically the last few months, I've just been setting up JS Sanctuary, which is a sanctuary that I'm opening down here. I bought some land and the home of ECETI Australia as well. And I've we're about to get the go-ahead to roll out a trailer soon for a feature film that's actually on myself and my case with the evidence. That's featuring James and Mary, as well as John Vivanco and Jason Gleaves, who's UFO only, and Ex-U.K Air Force and Aerospace. So it's quite a lot. I bought a book out earlier in the year, my 7th book as well. So it's just one thing after another. But I hope to get back to James as soon so we can do another feature film for him as well.
Thank you. Yes, and I have every one of all of your books, Mary, James, and Peter, and I've read them front to back many times. So thank you for putting things on paper. There's a frequency to that. And for people like me who underline and reread and put notes and go back and it means something different later, and the whole frequency thing. So Mary, you've been on the show a few times. Love you so much. You're a dear friend and just a mentor to me as well. And so please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Mary Rodwell, not Roswell, by the way, guys, for any of those that want that. It's been one of the usual ones. I'm the principal and founder of the Australian Close Encounter Resource Network, and also co-founder of the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation. I've written 2 books, Awakening and The New Human, and my work is primarily to offer resources and help, whether it's through hypnosis, whether it's like, as Peter and James also do, is helping people to understand their multidimensional awareness, to put it into a way where they can use it safely and in harmony with their conscious self. So I do quite a lot of work on that score. But more than anything else, it's just helping people to come to terms with their greater reality in a way that they can integrate it in harmony. So for me, it's about empowerment. And I know that Peter and James are exactly the same, that what we're hoping to do through our work is, you know, get more and more soldiers on the ground who are awakening to get this shift going. So for want of a better word, that's what I do, including doing things like this, where, you know, Sharnael, your work is amazing, because what you're doing is providing a forum for the rest of us to put this information out. So equally and absolutely as valuable is what you're doing. So thank you.
Yes. Well, I love all of you so much. And I hope that you guys who are watching, if you could do me a big, huge favor. You know, people are always like, what can I do to help? What can I do? You can share this. You can share, and get this out. Because the more people, you never know who's watching. You guys never, ever know. You never know what's going to ignite or activate the field. You don't know what's going to happen. We just don't know. There's different people who say things, you know, the same, and it doesn't matter. And then another person says the same thing, and there's an activation. And so I just encourage you guys to please do your part and share. What I'm going to start with here tonight, and if you have any good questions, you guys who are out there, please send questions. We love your questions too. But I was in Montana. I'm actually from Montana originally. And I was in Montana last week, and for the first time in a little bit, and actually someone sent me an email, a text of James's latest endeavor here with his amazing footage of this huge ship that showed up on a SETI. I have personally been to a SETI, as I said earlier. I have physically seen the ships come around the mountain, come out in the mountain, seen all the lights and the beams and what have you. I've seen James in action, where he'll literally say, if someone get a stopwatch, it's going to be 3.4 minutes. And then this is going to happen. Like somehow they connect with him. He knows what's going on. He can feel it in his body. Peter does the same thing. I'm sure Mary does. I mean, it's something cool, because we have the technology within us. And he has been so accustomed to this for so long that he can actually time it down to a science, to the second. And tell us a little bit about this ginormous green emerald. I mean, it was so big. It was one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was massive. There's a lot of people trying to debunk it, but everything they've come up with is ridiculous. But anyway, basically, it was a long stream of lights, looked like windows, looked like one solid craft. It was massive. It was rocking up and down, and when it went by, it had some other stringing behind it in front of it. And then it had ships flying around it and in front of it at 45-degree angles. And, you know, there was just so much activity in this footage that there's no way you could dismiss it. So they're trying to say it's Starlink. Well, we looked at the time, and there was one little Starlink satellite up there at the time this was filmed, you know, which is nothing near what we saw. And also, too, it was filmed in Illinois. It was filmed in, oh, God, where else? In Australia. Peter saw some great footage of it in Australia in January, I guess. He can talk about that. And then I was trying to think, in Canada, it was filmed in Canada. And so if this was some kind of a satellite, it would be in a straight line. You know, this thing was seen all over the world, the same, and it looks almost identical, the same footage. and one guy's filming it and it just phases out. It goes cruising around. There's a cloud. It kind of goes behind the cloud and it never comes out, a small cloud, and it phases out. So I would, to me, it's the old Occam's razor. If it sounds like a duck and walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So nobody's come up with anything else. Now, could it be some massive solar wardenship or one of our secret space fleet projects? I don't know, but it's definitely unconventional. And until somebody can put a tag on that's credible, I would have to say it's definitely, an unidentified flying object, at this time.
Literally, people get so weird about that. But you said you saw it too in Australia, Peter?
No, I didn't see it personally. I had a friend, I'm sure it was January, it could have been early February, when I had my cabin up near Mount Buffalo, near a place called, actually I was in a place called Bright at the time, and I saw a friend there who in Melbourne on the way to work one morning filmed the exact same thing. He didn't want to come forward with his name or the footage, but I saw that a few months ago, and then when James showed me that, I'm like, that is exactly what this bloke filmed. Look, I think there's this component now because of Starlink and so many people looking up more and actually seeing Starlink. Everything's bloody Starlink.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if they look at James filming this stuff pretty much since the 80s, I've been filming this stuff for over 11 years. A lot of my stuff is daytime. James has got a heck of a lot of daytime stuff there that not just he's getting, but other people are as well. It is what it is. People are going to use whatever frame of reference or the lens that they view on this reality through just to put it to whatever they want. But disclosure is coming, and it comes from within, and we're seeing a shift even here in Australia. Recently, on Sunday night, they had the UFO Phenomena show on Prime, where I was very surprised. They actually they traveled to America. They had a lot of military experts on there. Sala, who was Robert Sala, who was in the Maelstrom Air Force Base incident, I believe it was. They actually covered that well as many other incidents, and didn't take the piss out of it like they did with me on Sunrise, 10 years ago, which is what they've done with me a few times. So we're seeing this shift to where this is being taken, at least presented in a serious fashion. But maybe we could have a repeat of Project Blue Book, which is UFOs exist, but they're not a threat to national security, or they could put a spin on it also, meaning maybe there is a threat to national security. If they're a threat, we wouldn't be here. And I know that a few of us here have got direct contact anyway, so that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Hey, I wanted to say one thing. You just have to take swamp gas and what was the other one? Weather balloon, and just erase it and write in Starlink. And Starlink is the new swamp gas and weather balloon. Everything is Starlink. That's
Starlink is the new weather balloon, huh?
Yeah, that's the new one. Yeah,
that makes sense. Well, Mary, you're an investigator, and you have people who literally chase you down to tell you about what they've seen. What do you think about all of this? And have you even heard anybody talk about it being over there?
Look, I mean, like James and Peter, this is like, why are we still saying, is it this or is it that, when the military fully know exactly what they are? This business, it's anomalous and it goes fast and we're not really quite sure. It's all BS. The fact is they know full well what they are, and they know exactly what's going on. The whole drip feeding is, to me, it's a joke. The real evidence is coming out now by investigators like James and Peter and others that are showing the footage, that are having the experiences. I mean, we know now millions around the globe are taking pictures of these craft all over. They're contacting me and saying, I've had this happen to me. They've talked about missing time, but they've also talked about all sorts of different craft that they're seeing. Some that are pure light, almost light, conscious craft they're talking about. They're talking about the solid craft. So when I was asked recently in an interview here on local radio, and it was, well, what kind of shapes of the craft? And I wanted to say, you think of it, you name it. That's how many different types of craft. Where do you want me to give you the list? It's there are so many different forms of intelligence that are out there that are visiting us. And the disclosure, in my view, is happening now through the experiencer, through credible experiences that are coming out, and they're right across the board, from lawyers, doctors, nurses, politicians, celebrities, as well as your housewives and your farmers and whatever. So this is the bulk of what is happening now. And I am inundated, as I'm sure Peter is, and James certainly, with, the numbers that are contacting me now is exponential. And I just think it's just going to continue as we get this drip feed disclosure from our, so friendly government that want to just give us a taste of something which they know full well the answer to.
Yes, I love it. So the thing is, what we know is Trump obviously set up a Space Force, which we know that there's been a Space Force way before there was a Space Force.
Yeah.
And, it was just actually really made fun of. I mean, there was a lot of people who were just like, oh my God. I mean, I talked to Peter about this because within, I think, a day, maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, they coincidentally launched this Netflix show with Michael Carell. And I'm going to talk to you about this too, Mary, where all of a sudden it was like, I think it was called Space Force too. And actually it was like about Space Force, and they had a flag. And I mean, how in the world did Mockingbird actually know all the stuff that looks so similar? They made fun of the whole thing. They just totally poo-pooed it, and, and the timing. But talk a little bit about that, James, and then we'll just go around the circle of, why do you think he came out with it? I mean, obviously we need it, right?
Yeah.
And we've already had it, but talk a little bit about that whole poo-pooing and the realness of it.
Well, according to my information, I've been talking about this for years, and this is kind of go against a lot of the standard curriculum. Basically, Trump, Xi Jinping, Modi, and Putin are all together in this. They all have contact. They are working with the benevolent beings, and the rest is theater. And so there's a massive planetary liberation going on with the higher dimensional beings. And they all have their deep states they have to deal with in their countries, and they're working on cleaning that out. And the global elite, but they're all up against this, but they're all working together behind the scenes to do this. And I know it's going to fire up a lot of people in talking about this, but as far as disclosure happens, it's been a controlled narrative for a long time. Why? For the past 70 years, are we still saying, oh, Billy Bob's out feeding his pigs and this ship far off in the distance went by, and we don't know who's on them or if it was a ship or not, and the police chased it? And I mean, that's all you got. You still have that program going. And then some military guy goes, they give you this fuzzy tic tac, and they said, oh, finally the military is saying they're real, well, of course they're real. It's probably one of ours, and, you've got the TR3s and everything else, but it's so ridiculous. It's such a controlled narrative. And there's so many people playing along with this controlled narrative at the highest levels in ufology. Even the major conferences are involved in this, and they're bringing the same guys on. And some of these guys have very, very dark pasts and very dark scenarios. And they've been very involved in, the pedophile, all that other stuff we hear about. Hollywood, they're involved in a lot of that. And they name drop all these people. And then I was saying, we wanted to offer our condolences for a lot of the people in ufology that have lost, their friends and sponsors due to the military tribunals, because they're being taken out. And so if you want to name drop these people again to show how special you are and how connected you are, I wouldn't be name dropping these people anymore, because their whole past is going to be unveiled. But the real disclosure is coming, and it's coming from the ETs. They're in the skies. They're showing themselves to everybody. It's coming from the people who incarnated from these advanced civilizations, the contactees, the experiencers. and it can't be stopped. It's a multidimensional event. It's massive. The source itself is behind it, creator, God, great spirit, whatever you want to call it. And the days of the tyrants is over. I mean, we're walking through that right now. These guys are all being exposed for who they are, what they've done, and what they're doing. And it's like they say, grab your popcorn. This is a huge multidimensional event. It's unfolding, and creator wins. In the end, basically.
What do you think, Peter? That was great, James. Thank you so much. You're right. I get it.
I was speaking about this happening before it even happened in terms of Trump releasing a Space Force. I was told this personally in my contacts from particularly Shiji, and there's a being that I work with called Penke as well. I was told that it was about to roll out, that was an introduction, that what was going to be seen was actually going to appear as a brand new space fleet, brand new crafts, which is old hat that we've had in play for years. This has been going on since the time of Atlantis, to where they were working, we could say the fallen Atlanteans, working with the Fourth Reich, which turned in a Project Paperclip. This is all old hat. This is nothing new. And I think with those in government that I've spoken to, people in different parts, I could say, this is not that ETs are real. This is where I think for the common person in some way, what's going to be the shock is that this is not just beings coming from the Pleiades or Orion or Sirius, wherever. This is something that goes surpassing to beings in other dimensions in those occupying those places, up to including what I say is ETs are the bottom 5%. Once you go up from that to about 5% below source, you've got complete different ballpark. No planets, no stars, completely different forms of intelligences, and then what I call the angelic light realms, the geometric light realms. This we've done it all. We've come down the planes and dimensions at this time to assist with the awakening healing process. And this is where it's not that ETs exist, it's like beyond extraterrestrial. And this is where with the contacts now, I don't talk much about it because I'm interacting with the Elohim, the Lords of Light, beings that people have got no reference for, that would make me sound like some sci-fi nut. I know James gets it. James has had that stuff going on as well as Mary knows about this as well. But they're all working as a collective. And this is where the Space Force is just an introduction to wean society into, all right, now we're a spacefaring race, or we're trying to, but we've been doing it for a long time. So it's interesting how it's playing out. And I think we could say the number 17 or Mr. T, that people gave too much power to these forces. These forces are real. But at the end of the day, people are looking externally for somebody to change and bring disclosure and bring about a whole change in the world. We have to do it individually, and enough of us do it. It has a spiderweb effect to where the collective's going to be affected. So we've got a lot of stuff in play to where this is going to be shedded and turned into, or reconnecting with our gown of light eventually for those that are ready. And this is an ascension process, but ascension, we've got to remember right now, is even in a physical form of raising one's frequency. And so it's time that we sort of step up to that and do our part just by being the best person that we can.
Yeah, I love that. To me, when you were talking, what I was seeing, I see pictures. It's almost like you were just like putting something out there with Space Force to see, like, will anyone hang on to it? Well, like, what will that do for the people that could get it? They get it. For the people that don't, okay, maybe later. But at least it was just putting something out. I don't know. And someone else is talking about terraforming and how this is just, we're literally changing the world just in drips, like Mary keeps saying. It's kind of annoying, but at least it's drips. But Mary, what do you say about all of this?
Well, I'd like to just quote two of, how much I give credit to the new generations of starseeds that are coming in. They are so fully activated and aware of what is happening, and their mission, their purpose here as part of this, huge shift in humanity. And one of them last year I spoke to, a 10-year-old, explained to me that he was visited by light beings because he came from a planet of light. Where you could manifest instantly. He said it's much harder on planet Earth because it's a lot denser. It's a bit more like hard work. But I said, well, what do you think is happening, or what do you feel is happening now? And he said, Mary, this is the reset.
Wow.
Absolutely, but in a positive way. But I just want to read this from a 12-year-old I got only a few weeks ago. She was asked about what was happening now. Everyone is moving dimensions. The higher self of each person individually is working hard to bring into alignment the new dimensions upon Earth. Every higher self on the planet is trying to do this, even if the person is totally unaware. Therefore, certain beings are creating many negative emotional situations on Earth to keep humans from changing dimensions. We will be in a more neutral happiness and harmony with the planet and each other and our lives, but there's an energy battle going on with each person's higher self and the darker energy beings. There's no judgment involved in hierarchy. We're all equal, even the darker energies. We're just experiencing different lives. Everyone will evolve to higher dimensions eventually. No one is left behind. It will vary in timings. This moving dimensions is happening throughout the galaxy, on many other planets too. The shift will happen to us all to a new, kinder, caring, less emotional reality. Amy says her person is to help people connect with the earth, around people, and help them connect with their higher selves.
Wow.
She said she comes from a different galaxy, many galaxies away. She also warned, and this fits in with what James was saying, she also warned there are some famous and very popular people leading the spiritual world with many, many followers who are loving the attention and are not working for our best interests anymore. They are lowering our vibrations with their rhetoric and negative tales. And she said the vaccines are not good. Not everyone who has them, though, will be affected, but many will. There's more, but that's
A 12-year-old.
yes.
This is the stuff Mary gets on a regular basis. Like, this is regular for Mary. This is like basically a daily thing, this type of stuff that she gets. And I've met some of these children, and this makes us look like children when you're in the presence of some of these children with what they can say. And it's totally in line with what we're all getting in our own contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a talking stick and we give it to the kids and we go, everybody's equal here. You know, there's no color, no race. Everybody's equal. Here's your talking stick. And if you let the kids talk, it's embarrassing. I mean, they remind us of what we forgot and how we really need to start behaving ourselves. You know, it's amazing. I want to say a little bit about what Mary's talking about. Contact comes with enlightenment, and we're multidimensional beings existing on a vibrational continuum. And so the more you focus on love and joy and bliss, and you heal the wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience, the more your frequencies go up. The more your frequencies go up, the more you ascend into your multidimensional self. And these kids coming in are already there. I mean, they don't have all the garbage to dump and get rid of and things. And so they're already at that frequency and they're already having contact, and they're most of them have full contact with the civilization that they incarnated from and memories of it, you know, remember it. And they're here to bring that consciousness and energy to the planet. And, you know, I tell people, you know, everybody goes, I want to see an ET. And I go, just go in the bathroom, flip on the light and look in the mirror. You know, our DNA comes from the stars. The earth has been colonized over and over again and had multiple cataclysms and pole shifts and things and great wars. And we've had to start over again. And we're this big genetic mix down here, along with the animals and plants and everything else. It's been terraformed from a lot of different star nations. So, you know, we need to just get past this little self they're trying to sell us, and this little planet and this little God and all these programs they're trying to sell us. We need to get past that and realize how vast we are, how vast the universe is, and how vast Creator is. And Creator's multidimensional as well, you know. So it's not a little old man with a beard and a laptop with a lightning bolt that's taking notes and it's going to zap you. It doesn't even have an ego. It can't judge. It's beyond that. And it's so far beyond, you know, we can't capsulize in a book or even in our minds. We can't capsulize the vastness of creation and Creator. It's so far beyond anything we can imagine. So quit buying the the little doll they're trying to sell us, the little you doll, the little God doll, the little universe doll, that they're trying to sell us. And it really is. It's all about it's all about this ascension process we're going in. I tell people, focus on love and joy and peace, release the past, heal the wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions, and put your intention on having a contact with the benevolent ones. Be very clear. And if you do that, if that's your focus, you're going to have contact. And they're like cheerleaders. They're waiting. They're cosmic cheerleaders. They're waiting for us to do this. And we need to initiate it and ask for help in turning this planet around. And if we do that, I mean, we're already getting the help because a lot of us incarnated to do this, but we're going to get a lot more help if we put our intention in there and our desires and make them known to the universe, basically.
I love it. Yeah, and going back to the whole DNA, I mean, we have the technology within ourselves. As a scientist, as a doctor, epigenetics is real. We have that base of what we incarnate into, but as we awaken and as we identify what things are maybe problem areas, whether it's dis-ease or emotional or whatever it is, if we cannot acknowledge it, if we can just say, you know what, and not be afraid to cry or have an emotion, all this programming of don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about, keep going, survive, all this stuff. If we could just acknowledge it, and then it collapses that, and then it opens up more technology. All this quote junk DNA is not junk DNA. We have
there's no way around it. We're the higher consciousness and energy, the multidimensional beings that are involved in this, the whole solar system, the whole galaxy is going. We're moving into a highly energized place in space. It's activating our DNA. It's reawakening the alien DNA, whatever you want to call it. It's bringing up all of our wounds and traumas, and it's bringing everything up. And right now, I know I'm having people just having meltdowns and falling apart right now because the Schumann resonance is off the scale. There's massive coronal mass ejections, flares hitting the planet. It's activating the bioelectric fields around the body. It's throwing people in process, and it's rough. And if you just get through, breathe through it, get whatever help you can from friends, family, or enlightened counselors like Mary and Peter and people like that to get through these things. And also too, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I'll shut up after that, but there are unseen negative influences at play, and they have mental bodies and emotional bodies, and they are trying to keep us totally wrapped up in our emotional body and locked into the physical and pain and suffering and all that, because that keeps their world alive, and their world is collapsing. It's on its way out. And so they're coming out of the woodwork right now. And we are so busy clearing these things and helping people. And we teach people on our website how to heal these unseen negative influences and process and everything. We do transpersonal release sessions, but I mean, it's intense right now. And the load is just unbelievable on dealing with this. I'm sure all of us, I can speak for all of us right here, that people are just going bonkers. And then, you add all this vax nonsense and everything else in there, the mix, and that's creating more polarities and divisions and shutting down the DNA. It's just such a mess right now, but it'll pass. I always say this too shall pass. It's a phase we're going through, and this may sound cold, but a lot of it's the wheat being separated from the chaff. It's, how long have we been screaming at our loved ones and family and friends, don't go there, don't do this, turn your TV off, I wrote about everything that's unfolding now in 1982. It's in my books, back in 90, it talks about the Illuminati, the global elite, what their rollout, what they're going to do. And now I'm just saying, you know what, I've done my part. I'm doing all I can. And now people are going to do what people are going to do. They're going to make choices. It's like having a teenager, you can give them a foundation, but once from 12 on, they got to establish their own identities and make their own choices. And that's where I feel humanity is in right now. It's in that teenager, like, okay, you have the foundation, it's been given to you, and what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to go with this?
Yes, and Alina Denon is on. Actually, she's been on the show a few times. She says
She's
hi,
great.
and she's agreeing. She actually posted something a couple days ago that I reposted, and it said the difference between a conspiracy theory and fact is 6 to 12 months. And we are seeing a lot of things coming out right now. I hope you guys are sharing and doing your part. Please do share and share and share and share and share right now. I'm just going to remind you, but I want to go around the circle too. And here's the thing. So there is disclosure, but then there's this blue beam thing. So how do we separate? I'm going to start with Peter and then we'll go up. How do we separate what could be like a fake kind of look over here to the actual that's been here the whole time? You know, like how do we do that?
What's the fruit from the information? What's the fruit? It is simple with any of this. It comes down to not seeing it as a theatre show, but sitting back. Like I've actually bought a television for the first time in 10 years the other day, just so I can do my presentations, right? I don't care about it. But what's happening is those that aren't in line or we could say awakened yet, and I hate the woke new community thing and all that. It's like the Me Too movement. We've got this whole crazy thing going on, but it's the fruit of the information. Like we were saying at the start of this, that you've got a component where when you're looking at what's going on, we can either have a repeat of Project Blue Book. Again, UFOs are real, but they're not a threat to national security, or they're going to put a spin on it. I can tell you now personally, if you go and look at James's footage and my footage, and especially this feature film that's about to come out on myself featuring these guys called Multidimensional, you will see what real footage looks like. It's been analysed, it's been tested. I can tell you now that 90+% of the crafts that we've seen come out from the military are actually ours. Straight away. If anyone knows infrared good, I'll probably know it better pretty much almost than anyone, because I've been dealing in depth with cameras and infrared technology for many years, which is how I've caught the grey alien on camera, many crafts on camera, orbs. We've seen all this. So what I'm saying is, look, if you don't believe the news 90+% of the time, why are you going to believe it with this? And what's going to happen is people are going to believe, oh, UFOs are real. But what's going to happen is, Shiji's told me repeatedly, it's going to be the truth wrapped in a lie. And this is where it's about one's frequency. So if people's frequency is in fear, we're seeing this now. This is beings, which I call the lower light, which is from the fallen Elohim, which is the Archon's draconian reptilian network, that they are distorted forms of consciousness that is trying to get everyone else in that state, because they created an artificial intelligence to hold a frequency to where they cipher through the R part of the brain, which is a trans-dimensional, we could say, implant to harvest this energy. And we're in a war, but the thing is, they're part of the same consciousness that we're a part of. So this isn't being played out by what we could say is the government. The government really don't know jack. It's who's behind them that's orchestrating what they want the world to see, just like a reset. Mary's talking about a reset. There is going to be a reset, and this is part of a positive reset. But what we're seeing is the negative reset playing out as the movie within the world. So this is where, if you don't believe them 90% of the time plus with what's on the news, why I believe them about this is because those that are ignorant and do not investigate or think for themselves, they will hold that frequency. All right, UFOs are real, they must be a threat, if that's the path they go down. I'm sort of in two worlds at the moment, whether it's going to be they're a threat and or we wrap it up like Project Blue Book, they're not a threat to national security, we'll just blow it off. But they can't repeat what they did in the 90s, revisiting Roswell and saying it was blue dummies. We've got too many people coming forward. And again, what we said before this talk, why is it that some bloke in Trout Lake in the middle of nowhere of Washington State and some bloke in the middle of nowhere in Australia has got footage 100 times? I've got television footage camera of them, the clearest footage you can get. Why have I got that in the military and haven't got it? One is they don't want to release it. Two, I know talking to some of these people that are in the governments, they've got, for example, with the Tic Tac and other UFOs, they've got clear as day footage of that, but they won't show you the clear camera footage. Now, the Tic Tac, I'm inclined to think maybe it's extraterrestrial from the point of view that it went from a foot, I think it was something like 60,000 feet down to a foot above sea level within a second. And then it knew where they were going. That, to me, is more of the technology. When I've been on the crafts, they're living. They've got a symbiotic relationship with the pilot. It's all thought. The other stuff like the triangle and strobing light, other bits of footage I've seen, it's our stuff. And what they're doing is they're showing metal nuts and bolts craft. Now, some of the crafts I filmed are metallic, but they're made from actually a metallic crystal to where they've still got a symbiotic relationship with the pilot. They can turn into photon light, or they break into light by changing frequency, and through thought they navigate. But you can tell if it looks too sort of something like we would make, it's ours. And that's where we're not seeing the clear footage, because if you saw the footage clear, you would see it's our stuff. It's just advanced. So this is sort of like a no holds bar at the moment in terms of the predictions and the energies, and even the stuff that James and I have predicted over the many years in books now. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of it unravel, but this is a war going on right now. And by the second, outcomes are changing because it's a war through consciousness. And so this is, where's your pinpoint of a focus of awareness pointed? And that's where these guys are pulling out all the energies, and they want to control, dominate, manipulate. And we're coming at a place where we're here for liberation, and we're part of the Starseed Army, and that's what we're doing. But it's bigger than extraterrestrials. Like I said, extraterrestrials are down here, the 5%. We're about here. And then you've got all these other beautiful beings of light going up to a vibratorial state, geometric, and then God source creator itself. And in the end, we can actually create our own universes once we divide with our own consciousness from this universe, create our own universe. This is the complexity of what's going on, is that we're like a cancer with what's going on here, and we're here to heal that cancer within the universe.
That's amazing. I love
My
that.
rant anyway.
Well, I'd love to hear from you, Mary. What do you think about all this, the difference between it, and how this is going to, are people going to be aware? Are they going to notice the difference? Are they going to understand?
What I'd like to say here is two things, and James and Peter mentioned this. It's all about frequency, ultimately. There are two things that have become really clear to me. Was when I was first, one of the young men I was speaking to, well, young child, he was 9 at the time, and I was having a conversation with his father, and he said, "Can I speak to Mary?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "Why is it you feel you want to speak to me?" And he said, "Well, it's because of your frequency."
Oh, wow.
Right? Now, this is a 9-year-old who explained that he was from Orion. He was a light physicist and dealt with time travel technology on Orion. He was here to help with the technology here, which was very primitive. Basically, his words for that. But when I was at James's ranch, one of the things that was interesting was I did a 3-day with families, and I talked to this beautiful little 7-year-old who had interactions with Bigfoot, and particularly on James's ranch. But also he told me he could speak dolphin, by the way, and said, "Do you want to hear it?" So he proceeded to speak dolphin. And then he said to me, "You know, I can tell when someone's lying or telling the truth."
Yeah.
And I said to him, "So how do you do that? How does it feel to you to do that?" And he said, "Well, when somebody's not telling the truth, I go all cold." He said, "And when it's truthful, I feel warm." These children already have it ingrained in their DNA. Now, our job, and I believe that's with Peter and with James and many, many others that are doing this work, what we're encouraging is that connection to that DNA of that individual, that vibration, higher vibration, so that when we look at something, we will know, absolutely know, whether it has integrity or not. As the same way I will say to someone who's seeing beings and they want to know whether they're positive or negative, I'll say, "What are you feeling? What are you feeling?" Because there's your truth. Don't go on what everybody else tells you. These are this and these are that. That's their resonance to their own understanding. I said, but that may not be yours. What's yours? Go back to the fact you came here as a soul with everything you need to live this life in the way that your soul chose. And you have the tools within you. You don't need a piece of paper that says you can do it. You don't have to read 15 books that are going to tell you can do it, or someone else to give you the reassurance you can do it, in the sense, this is your knowing. This is what you've come with. Start trusting that. And then you'll be able to know exactly when you see something, has that what I see it to be? Has it integrity? Is it a truth? And the knowing will be with you. This is what we're all encouraging. Those that work in this field, we're encouraging that connection to our own higher self, our higher awareness. This is the only way we'll get through this, is to reach that point where we trust that resonance. And that we all have. It's just that many people have given that away because they've allowed this programming on this planet to tell them what's truth, to tell them that they're no good anyway, because they've got no connection to anything. Even religions say, well, we're the ones, the hierarchy say, we're the ones connected to God, not you. You have to do what we say, because really you're just a poor sinner, aren't you? You know, you don't know anything. That's the programming that has stopped people trusting that resonance to their own higher self and superconscious. And that's what we're really trying to do now across the planet, is encouraging people to go back to that personal resonance. Then it's a doddle, guys. It's an absolute doddle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love that you work with so many kids, because the kids don't have a filter.
Yeah.
Kids aren't already programmed. You know, they're just and animals, excuse me. You know, they're just what they are, and they're high frequency. And that she or he, I don't remember which one, but she was drawn to you because of your frequency. I think we can all relate, everyone on the panel, of your frequency as just a universal mom. And but here's the thing: is that going back to the technology, we have it in our DNA already. We can detect BS. It's not talked about. It has nothing to do with what words are said. It's in here. It's the gut. It's the heart. It's the knowing. Like, there's something off with this person, or there's something off with that picture, or there's something off with this evidence, or this video, or what, you know, you fill in the blank. And for us to come back to that, to transmute these and kind of not just transmute, I guess, we basically have to filter through all the BS that's coming at us, because there's so much information, and it's like, to be able to identify, yep, no, yes, yep, no, and whether it's an individual, you know, or actual facts or political facts, you know. So integrity, the word integrity means to be integrated. And I'm seeing the more integration, the higher the frequency is, as we individually work on us as a micro and a personal, that's adding to the collective. And maybe we can actually do something around here. But James, talk about the difference between, someone said, when I hear BS, my tummy starts saying.
Yeah. Well, Mary nailed it. I mean, I want to go, you know, basically, I'll just kind of reiterate what she's saying, but, you know, basically it's all about the heart. It's about dropping into the heart, and your heart is connected to the soul. There's actually a cavity there and your soul is connected to the source. And when you drop into the heart, that's your BS meter. And that's inner sensitivity. There's training you can do for that. And we teach that here. Inner sensitivity training. We teach self-mastery. We teach ambassador training, all that. We're kind of combining them now. But it's so important to learn to trust your feelings. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And when something is told you, stop and just drop into the heart and go, does this feel right? Is this beneficial for me? Is this empowering me as an individual? You know, what's going on here? Because there are, you know, a lot of people, and bless their hearts, you know, they're strutting around on stage saying, see me, dig me, look at me. And I have a story, and whoever's got the most wildest story, you know, is going to get the most press or the most, you know, airtime on Facebook or whatever. But, you know, it's like a lot of it's really simple. It's not that complicated, you know. And you just be kind to each other, be kind to the planet, drop into the heart, and really sense what's happening around you. And don't turn into the, you know, to RNN, you know, the Reptilian News Network, or those other ones to get your reality. to tell you what's going on, because, they have an agenda, basically. Oh God, I'm brain farting right now on the word for it, but it's what do they call social engineering? I mean, it's social engineering. All of it is. And you should be very afraid. You should be Russia. Now it's Russia. Russia's coming after us. They're going to get us. Go back and listen to Putin's message on Christmas about Christianity and about the satanic, whatever, Luciferian nonsense going on with the leadership and everything else. I mean, it's a whole different story, and this may sound really crazy, but I'd much rather have Putin than our president right now, in charge. That's how bad it's gotten, because really China's in charge anyway. But but it's we need to get away from the news and this social engineering, and stop and do our own research and develop that critical thinking. I tell people there's so many people that are critical thinking and research impaired, and their heart impaired too, because our heart challenge. They're not dropping in the heart and saying this isn't right. But now the whole planet right now, this divine feminine energy, this heart energy is coming in, and people are waking up and they're just not buying it anymore. I mean, look at the ratings of the RNN network, it's in the toilet. The people just aren't buying anymore, and they're just saying, these guys are charismatic liars. And and at what point do you go, okay, they lied about this, but I'm going to turn that channel back on to find out what's going on. I mean, at what point do you, like Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result is a form of insanity. And that's what people are doing. They're so socially engineered. And I go, when you do the research, you find out everything they're telling you is a lie, everything, and then, I won't even go into a ancient off-world television show, but we won't call them ancient aliens, but I mean, that's another controlled narrative. And a good example, Peter was there. They came out to the ranch. I was sitting with him for 2 hours talking about everything, the whole multiverse, who's who on the ships, their cultures, everything. They come out to ECETI Ranch and they canned everything. All you see in that special is my hand reaching for a camera. That's it. And the same thing in Thrive. When I was in Thrive, they canned, it all went on the floor, and, even the people that put that out, they said you gave the most succinct information and also tools. And we're going to really feature you. And next thing you know, the other people got involved and it got censored and it's happening to all of us, and especially with Peter. Peter has the most amazing footage I've seen on the planet, basically, and that's why I chosen to be ECETI Australia, plus his heart and his integrity levels. But why is this being censored? I mean, this is, and the same thing we're having here, treetop level, massive ships coming in, powering up, 200 people on the ground. Every size, shape, color imaginable. Peter's got the same thing. Why is this not being covered? Why is this so controlled? And people are going to have to realize there is a controlled narrative. We actually made a video called The Controlled Narrative, the Uncontrolled Narrative, basically. And they have to realize this is a controlled narrative. Even the major conferences are involved in it. And the lead people in this movement are definitely a lot of shills, a lot of planned opposition. They're not who you think they are, and they're there to keep the narrative controlled. And we really need to finally get through this and break through this nonsense, because we're going to still be at Roswell. A lot of people still are. They're 70 years in the past. Still, is it real? Is it a UFO? We've already met the beings. We know who they are, their cultures, their agendas, what they have to offer, everything. And the children know this too. And we're going, what are you guys doing? Why are you in control of disclosure? And that's what people have to start asking. Look, we're still asking the same question for 70 years now. Why are you people in control? You're a fail. You're a total fail at disclosure. Now, Now there are no Michael Saul. I'm not talking about him. He's awesome, you know. And there's a lot of other people out there that are doing things, but there are people in the industry, you might say it, that are in it for all the wrong reasons, and we need to kind of ferret that out.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw a meme the other day too, James. That was really good. Oh my God, I love your books too. And everyone watching, can you please share and also get all of their books, because this is only what, an hour and 15 minutes, but you can continue this if you haven't already by investing in them and also reading some of the materials that they've already put out there that we won't be able to talk about every single thing here. We just got so much time, but you guys can continue this by jumping in here. But I just saw this meme. The meme said something like, it was like 1970s or whatever, and they're like, we hope in 50 years that we'll see a flying car. And then like the next thing, it said like 2021, and it had like a bunch of screaming teenagers, and they were like, this pancake syrup is racist, you know. I was like, oh my God, this is so like where we're at. It's like, unfortunately, you know, we've had all this technology, we've had all this truth, it's all been buried, and yet here we are, like, really spending all of our time about celebrities and, you know, who's married and what pancake syrup is racist. You know, it's like, are you kidding me? But I have one final question, and then we'll wrap this up, because I don't want to go too long where people aren't like totally crazy. But we apparently just hit this, you know, May 26th time in our world of universe, you know, planets, and I'm hearing good things about like it being multidimensional and more opportunity and this golden age. James, I'll start with you. You know, what we know that this affects the ether, like astronomy, astrology, whatever you want to call it. There's a science that the planets actually do affect the field, which affects the inner cells. So there's something to that.
Oh yeah.
And also, we have not been in a world that we are right now since 1776. I'll tell you that. This year has never happened. This last 12 months has never been ever happened except for the time in 1776, which means we are due for a revolution by the planets, which, you know, biblical scripture, you know, my background is ministry. I know yours is too. And yet here we are beyond religion into God's spiritual love. And but what are you hearing about this May 26th thing, and how does that apply to where we're at, or do you know anything about it? I'd love to hear your feedback on it.
Yeah, they've told me all along that, you know, the same thing. It's going to be biblical. You know, it's massive. May 26th, we had that blood moon, we had all this other planetary alignment going on, and then we had massive coronal mass ejections, and the Schumann resonance is off the scale right now. There's no doubt. You can't deny there's a massive quickening and awakening and healing underway. The science is there. You can't deny it. We're moving into a highly energized place in space we've never been before. It's affecting our mental body, our emotional body, our soul on every level. Past life stuff is coming up for people. You know, they're being traumatized when that comes up. People are becoming cathartic, you know, they're having all kinds of just intense challenges right now with this energy coming in. And the nice thing about this energy is it's an accelerator and an amplifier. It's going to accelerate karma, and it's going to amplify everything. And so the beings on the downward spiral, the tyranny, that's being amplified. They're going down. The people on the upward spiral, they're focusing on love, enjoying bliss, and living a spiritual, natural life. They're going up. They're on the upward spiral. And like the Hopi prophecies say, you know, that's where we're going, basically. You know, they talk about that. Now in the Lakota, you know, ones, they talk about a beast, and the beast is 2,000 miles wide. And the beast is all consuming. It wants to control and dominate everyone and everything. And in the last days, the beast consumes itself. And so now we're watching the beast consume itself. And they said, and after that, there'll be 1,000, everybody's going to be free again. We're going to have 1,000 years of peace. There's going to be amazing healing technologies happening in the restoration of the earth, and we reunite with the Star Nation. So basically that's what we're going through right now. And some are going kicking and screaming, and some are going like this, and some are going, let me have it, and everybody's going to experience it differently. But it is a golden opportunity to ascend, to go to the next level, to heal. And we're all eternal. We're going to lose, loved ones and friends and family in this process. But you only lose them is if you misplace them in the physical, because you have a spiritual connection and an emotional connection with them, and nothing's ever lost, so they may not have a physical body anymore, but they're moving on. And so we need to stop holding on to them and grieving their loss and things like that. Let it happen, let it go. A lot of them are going back to the Pleiades. They're going back to Orion. They're going back to these other systems and where they came in from, and they're done. They've done their job here, so, we need to realize that, last thing my dad, when he died, his last words were, beam me up.
No.
And so I went out and I took a photograph above the house, and there's this beautiful turquoise light ship above the house. And he went back to the Orion Council of Light. That's where he came in from. And so heaven is much bigger than you can imagine. And the universe is so vast. It's not people with harps and clouds and condos in heaven. It's much, much bigger than that. And the heavens are coming in, pressing in right now. And we're going to go through a huge awakening and healing process. So I'll just leave it at that.
That's awesome. What you think, Peter?
It was funny you said the Orion Council of Light, because there's been some contacts. I don't usually go on about it much anymore because it's just a lot personal, but it has to do with what is being said in terms of the Orion Council of Light work in sync with the Lords of Light and the Elohim, and they're stationed in Orion at different sectors. We could say they're trans-dimensional hubs. Now, we have energy coming in from source. Now, this physical universe is manufactured from light. And that light comes from sound. Sound comes from source. And when we're at source, we're in harmony. There is new energies coming into this physical universe from the galactic center in all galaxies. That energy goes out through electromagnetic tunnels, hitting the stars, the sun, affecting the planets. Now, what I've been shown recently is that our time's going to change. Where the moon is compared to the earth and compared to the sun, that sets up the time code that we're experiencing in our illusionary state of linear time. This is changing, and the energetic frequencies are also shifting this. So the Schumann resonance, like James says, it's going off its head on and off at the moment. We've had a huge spate of solar flares recently as well. These are the new energies coming through. So there is adapting to the new energies, because with the new energies, it is a chance for you to basically go back on your walk if you want to. Like, some of us might be continuing as physical beings. Mm-hmm. It's going back to a light form, and being a light being isn't even in our natural form. If it's vibration, if it's light, if it's physical, it's illusionary, but it's less dense than here, and it's where we've sort of hanged out a lot of the time. So these shifts, it basically comes down to being the observer, which is a key to self-mastery. But with that said, I want to leave a note with people or what that note is how is what I'm saying or doing benefiting others and myself? Yeah. And does what I'm giving my attention to right now deserve my attention?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That is, I feel like I'm living that right now in so many levels. And with my clients, that seems to be the biggest subject that's coming up is boundaries.
Yeah.
And who, whether it's like friends, especially family, which is it seems like it's more difficult with family because it's family and you feel like worse or guilty about it. But Mary, what are your thoughts on all of this as far as here we are and now what?
There's two things I'd like to say, and one that stood with me for a long time was a lovely gentleman who's in England who, in his book, Does It Rain Enough to Mention, said this to his mother at 4 years old. It was in the 1950s. And he said to his mother, there'll be a change of consciousness on this planet. The light is coming this way. It will change all consciousness, both human, animal, and plant. He said it will be in my lifetime, but not yours. He's now in his 60s. And I always go back to that statement that he said in the 1950s to his mum. The light is heading this way, and it will change all consciousness, both animal, plant, as well as human. And that is, to me, that reaches my heart. But I will say one other thing, and I'm going back to the dear old UFOs and the ones that are coming from what I call that light. Command Sergeant Robert Dean, I've always felt was a real starman. And one of the things he admitted in the last few years of his life before he sadly passed away, and I met him a number of times, he said he'd been taken up on the craft and he'd been shown our origins, the different strains of 12 strands of DNA, but he said, I have been shown the future. He said, and though we will have a difficult time, he said, I have been shown the future of humanity, and it is glorious. Wow. And you know what? I believe that, because I believe him and the integrity that he always embodied. So there you go. That's what I'd like to leave with everyone, because I think that's pretty special.
That is amazing. It gives us so much hope. I mean, thank God, because I don't think people have hope in some places.
We spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time at the campfire, and Robert said, Bob, we call him Bob, but he said, give me some Jack Daniels and a cigar, and I'll tell you everything. And we did, and he told us everything. So just to read, that's what Mary was saying, that he's seen it all. He couldn't talk about all of it. Awesome man. And in the very beginning, when I came to come out and come forward, I talked to him, and he goes, James, he said, whatever happens, tell the truth. He said, don't embellish anything, don't change anything, don't try to make friends with these people. He said, just tell the truth, stick to the truth, and you'll get through this. And I always felt like he was a man of integrity, and I really listened to him, and it's like I tried to live by that advice, basically.
Yes, and I agree. When you find that person or situation, again, going back to the DNA, we can detect what is really real, what's pure, what's pure-hearted, what is actual. A person sends something out, it projects in the field. We project in the field when we're true and when we're honest and when we are love, which is the highest law of all. It's the royal law, is to be love and to embody love and to make choices about love, whether what we're eating, what we're drinking, who we're with, where we're at, what purpose we have. Everything is about love. And I love that he actually said, like, don't embellish, don't do this. Animals, who you've seen everywhere, they have no problem being loved. They're just love, on legs. And kids, as Mary works with all these kids, they're just no filter. They're just innocent. They're pure. But with conditioning and over time and being jaded and people being ugly to each other, sometimes that can kind of kick in and we kind of act differently. But which brings me, I know I said it was going to be a last question, but I actually have one more, because this has just been gnawing at me a little bit. People, because of my background, and I know you, James, you have a service ministry, pastoral background as well. Where does God fit into this? People always ask me, can you be, how are you talking about aliens, but you're a Christian? I don't even know how you can be a Christian, because Christian by definition means to follow someone. How do you follow someone that's inside of you and your DNA? I don't know. So I don't even know if I like that word anymore. But where is God's source in all of this? Like with UFOs and outside planets and what have you?
Okay, I'm gonna really rattle some cages here, but Jesus was an alien, basically. Okay, here's the deal. Jesus, right? He marries his mom. Mary was ancient Lyrian DNA. She had very pure genetics. Okay, so Mary is pregnant with child, and Joseph goes, I'm not going to marry her. She's with the kid. I didn't lay with her. It's not mine, right? And so what happens, this being appears to him. I think it was Gabriel appears to him and says, this is God's child. This is our child. Your rear is your own, right? Mm-hmm. So in order for Jesus to inhabit the body, the soul of Jesus, his energy force was so strong, he would have burned the synapses out on a regular body. So they had to take either high plating or Andromedan DNA and add it to Mary's DNA so he could come in from the seventh dimension, which was the plane of bliss. He was done. He transcended all material need, even for a body. He was done. And he came back to bring that information to us on how you ascend. He already did it. And so there's so much more to the story. The lights on the river Chabar, the Elijah ascending in a fire chariot, read Ezekiel. There's a shiny disc comes out of the firmament. It has wheels within wheels with flashing lights all around it. When you read this, when you understand what they're talking about interactions with some very, very advanced off-world beings. So basically, every religion has its bearded gods. You've got the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods. You've got, the ancient gods were mostly female. They were women. They're female gods. Pachamama, Gaia, gave birth to all creation. That's more accurate, basically. But the Buddha climbed the Great Wall. He got a little help there, when he did that. All these, if you understand what really happened in ancient history, everything came from the stars, where a planet has been colonized over and over again. And we've had very advanced beings, multidimensional beings here on the planet. They've left, incredible monuments behind them. And the bottom line is, how big is your God? So the question when we hear about a name or a bearded god or whatever goddess, who created them? These bearded gods, did they have a mother? Where did they come from? Because the source or creator is so infinite, it's beyond anything we can imagine. And these other beings all exist within this unified field of consciousness and energy. They're just using more of it. And they're more advanced. Some are millions, billions of years old. They're more advanced than we are. And we perceive them as gods. So is there a God? Yes. Is there this, I call it the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness and all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse. And it's right here. It's within each, it's the soul is the connector to that. And when you expand in awareness and connect with the soul, you realize you're a multidimensional being all the way back to creator, to the source. And it depends on how much you expand, how much you can release the past, how much you can heal to raise your frequencies. You can become one. And Jesus's prayer was, beloved Father, let them become one as we are one. Well, he became one with the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness and all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse. He became one with that. And that answers that big question is, who did he pray to? If Jesus was God, then why was he praying to God if he is God incarnate? Well, he was connecting with that consciousness and energy. And there's other beings that he was working with, like Yahweh and things like that are also way up the ladder in pure immersion with source. They became one with the creator, whatever you want to call it, but they still have an identity, but there's beings beyond that. So it's so vast, it's hard to give it in a nutshell, but right now we can take a laser and shoot it through frog DNA into a salamander, and that salamander will be a frog, that frog egg. So we can already transfer DNA with the laser, with light. Water holds DNA. Mm-hmm. We can actually create DNA in water. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what these other beings can do? All the genetic tinkering they can do with their technology. And they've been doing it for a long time. So we've all been getting upgrades, and some of these kids don't need the upgrades. They're coming in already. And I know I was upgraded. I'm fully aware of the whole thing that happened. And You know, I share DNA. I don't talk about this, but I share DNA with the Orion Counts of Light, you know, and a 6-dimensional being. But all of us have had this happen. I'm not saying I'm special. It's just like, you know, this is a big experiment, and there's multi dimensions to it, and there's some divine science behind it, and it's science that we would call magic because it's beyond our consciousness to understand it right now.
Awesome. Love it. What you think, Peter?
The only thing I can add to that,
Been upgraded too. So
apparently, the only thing I can add to that from personal experience is just imagine for a moment that your physical body's God, and each of the microscopic cells that make up the body is someone's higher self, including yours. What I've been shown is that we are all a cell in the highest expression of God's body, and we divide like a cell divides in two, and we go fractal and experience the many realms and dimensions. It's all about experiencing and gaining knowledge for the overall collective. This higher self I was shown is the Elohim. Now, we can look at it from a biblical text, but it takes it beyond that from the way that it's been shown personally to me, in that once we get to a certain state, we can keep being of service, we can keep gleaning knowledge, or we can divide off from this universe and create our own universe. That's where you can go through all ancient texts, newer information. This is where it is. Religion puts things in a box, and it's not putting anyone down if they're into it. I've been predominantly Christian throughout my upbringing as well, but at the end of the day, from what I've seen, there was a period where I threw all that out the window, and then I was like, damn, there's something to it, because I started to experience these beings on top of what I was interacting with. So the way I like to explain it is, if people have got a problem with it, what any of us are saying, they're interpreting it the wrong way with the wrong intention, because if you really take with what we're all saying proper, and again, that's from my opinion, it shows how big and beautiful the universe really is.
Mm-hmm. It's just, can I add one more thing? In my own near-death experience, I had 2 when I was 5, and Mary came to me and actually pulled me through it. And she made it very clear that she wasn't Catholic. You know, she was here for all the kids, and it made me rethink everything. And also the second drowning, I went through the tunnel that everybody talks about, and I ended up in that golden plane of bliss. And that's where Jesus incarnated from. I experienced it firsthand. And it's just pure consciousness and energy. It's pure unconditional love and joy and bliss. There's no ego. There's nothing there. It's just, I can just say it's pure bliss. There's no words that can explain it. And ultimately, to me, that's what creator is. That's from my own experience. And so you can read all the books and everything else, but until you've had that experience, I don't think you'll ever totally understand, you know, the true nature of source or creator. The good news of that is that it doesn't have an ego. It can't judge. So we judge ourselves, and our own guilt and our own unworthiness and our own belief systems are holding us back. And the creator's just saying, as you wish, you know. You know, and it's allowing us to create whatever we want, but there are reactions to that, you know. So we do live in a world of conscious and energy. We're an reaction world. It's called the plane of demonstration, where we demonstrate our beliefs in the world in which we live, and they manifest, you know, around us. So it's all about sticking to universal law, focus on love and joy and bliss, be of service to others, and clean up the past, you know. And there's some really good people, I don't want to do good and bad, that are really getting hammered right now. It's just because they have some old stuff they haven't cleaned up. You know, they're the most nicest, loving people, and then they get slammed. Well, they had a past life where something else happened, and they're finishing that up. So you got to know where these little things come up and bite you, you know. And it's part of the ascension process is your shadow side. You've got to deal with it. You know, if you're talking about just love and joy and bliss, you have one side of the coin. There's another side of that coin that's your shadow side that you've got to go in and get. And I always tell people, you know, we got to release the past. We got to heal the wounds and traumas, you know, and we have to be of service and realize there's other people out there that are broken, and they're very damaged, and they're lashing out and things like that. And so sometimes you have to deal with them on that level. And that's the process we're going through right now, that every level is just as important, so we do need our police, we do need our military, we do need structure. All these things are important, but they need to align themselves with universal law.
I agree. Awesome, Mary.
Well, all right. I'll keep it short and sweet and rattle the cage a little bit more. I'll mention two things. When I was talking to a 9-year-old from Sweden, and she said what she'd been told by what she's connected to is that we all come from Dayland, the land of light, where the angels, and God is not male or female. God is an ultra-terrestrial, according to her. And we all come from that source, and we've chosen different frequencies to experience, and we're helping each other up back to the source. But recently I got something else that may just rattle the cage a bit more. And this is from a 9-year-old, okay? He said they showed him many things and spoke in depth about God. And the mother said God is something she'd never mentioned to him, and said the older, bigger aliens told him that God is not what most people think. They showed him it's this vortex-type black hole that isn't a black hole. It's a violet light that creates. The aliens don't even know who created it or when. So make of that what you will. But all it really is saying to me is the consciousness that we all belong to. And we are co-creators of whatever it is we choose to experience, is how I've come at the moment to understand it. That could change tomorrow, of course, as I get new information, because that changes all the time. It morphs into something else. But my feeling is that there's part of me that said, right, this is what I'd like to bring to your reality and human adventure right now, Mary. You're going to have a bit of the positive and the negative. And, you're going to have to choose whether you want love or you want lack of love. And for me, it's as simple as that. Do I choose love or do I choose lack of love? Because that's how I see our challenges in this duality. It's what makes sense to me at the moment, but I am in control from my superconscious in what I choose to experience. And my attitude to it is the choice. Do I want to feel everything as a victim, or do I actually want to say, this is showing me something I need to learn? And it's painful, but you know what? I need to learn that. That's the choice I believe we have on this planet. So that's simply whatever you want to make of that. We're part of a frequency, and I think that frequency is light, love, and compassion, and all that goes with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Frequency, or cell and the trillion of cells, or, just this fractal part. I had an experience on Easter Sunday as a 4-year-old in Montana at my grandmother's house upstairs while my parents were in Iceland. And I literally saw Jesus. And there were different things that happened. I've talked about it publicly, but it changed my life. And that's what made me want to be in service to love forever. So, I do believe in a higher power, a source code, whatever, but in the wake up, when we bring ETs into the equation, I started really getting the gist of like the Immaculate Conception and all the things. I was like, oh my God, please don't touch Jesus. Like, please, but with you guys and your pieces of the puzzle and just my inner of what God has showed me and what I continue to search out and seek, there's been some security and just where I'm at and who I am and what I'm doing. And scalar waves, interestingly enough, I've been studying scalar waves, and they did scalar waves on Jesus, and Jesus had the highest scalar waves of anything that's ever hit the planet besides Mary, who they were equal, which is interesting. And the woman who did the scalar wave test actually said that that he was an avatar. Well, in my game, I don't play a lot of games, but the game life, I have a son that plays games. I was like, avatar, I don't know if I like that word, but when I looked up, because I'm very conscious language, I looked up the word avatar, and what she was saying is he's literally God incarnate. And and so that made, I was like, oh my gosh, so that makes sense that he was
I got a question. I got one question for you. When you saw him, was he smiling and laughing, or was he hanging on a cross?
Actually, I did see him on the cross.
Did you?
I did, but for the sake of understanding the depth of love, because I don't think of him on a cross, and I've had several encounters since then that weren't that same thing.
Yeah.
He is love. He's a he, but God is infinite. And whether that was a filter for me to get, I don't know, it's for right?
Yeah, I think we need that new. I have an image of the laughing Jesus, and I love it as his head's rolled back and he's just laughing.
Yes.
And we need to take him off the cross in that fear, guilt, and unworthiness program, and start high-fiving him like, hey, dude, what's up? Don't keep him so far away. He's not that far away. Yeah. So much love. The understanding and the depth of just like getting it instantly of, oh my gosh, the love that I physically felt in the room was not describable. And then of course I tried to talk about it and tell people, and you're 4 or 5 or whatever, and people are just like, what? Good luck with that one.
Yeah. So, but it is what it is, and that was part of my journey, and I've had several on the way, as some of you know. But this is where we're at. We're all getting these drops of our own journey, of our own experience, because this is Earth School, guys. And I hope you guys are sharing, because we're all experiencing things differently. We're all, perception, as one of you had said, becomes the reality, whatever that perception is. We're this fraction of what God is. Or the cellular, like I love how Peter's books talk about, just that cellular. We have a trillion cells as a scientist, I know, but each of us are a cell of God. And but anyway, before we close out, I went longer. I'm so sorry, but I appreciate your patience, and everyone watching, please do share. Before we wrap up, please just tell us where we can find you, because again, I would love for anyone who would like to continue to find out about you guys' work and your books. I know that we've ignited some people. I know that there's been interest. I know that this has been an awakening for others to go, hey, let's get more information on this, and hopefully activating their field to just crave more truth, because truth is tangible. Truth is a person. Love is a person. And we already have that here. So it's detectable within all of you guys. And so where can we find you?
I just want to say one more thing really quick. It's like when after I had my near-death experience, to me, they were all spooks, all the other beings. I just talked to Jesus, that's it. And he introduced me to Babaji and the other elders and yoga and all. And I learned from all the different cultures. And it was through him. I ran everything through him. And then I had to drop that division game that everybody's playing. But I just felt that was important to say is that for Christians that are struggling with this, is that it's just much more unlimited. God is much bigger than you've imagined. And it's time to expand beyond that. But anyway, you can go to eseti.org is the easiest way to connect with us. We also have ESETI Stargate on YouTube. Is the radio show, and As You Wish Talk Radio, and that thing's gone crazy. It's got, I don't know how, I lost track on how many. I think it's got about 100 affiliates and I don't know how many countries, but it's the big one, and we're still on Stargate, luckily on YouTube for now. We've gotten some warnings, but Yeah. But anyway, bless their hearts, but anyway, but I won't say any more about that. But anyway, that's the best way to connect with this is is just go to ECETI, Stargate on YouTube, or As You Wish Talk Radio on DBS, or go to the website at eceti.org, and you can find out all about the ranch and visiting and the books and anything else you want to find out about.
Let's go, Peter. How can we find you?
First off, I just want to say thanks, because I'm really close with Mary and James, and it's just great just having us all together. That's why I'm sitting here trying not to piss myself laughing half of the time, because there's so many jokes and stuff I can say, but it's been lovely having everyone together. So people can just go to petermaxwellslattery.com, ecetiaustralia.org, and also giasanctuary.com as well. So, yeah, books, videos, soon to be released documentary, everything there. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
And for me, you can look up thealienlady.com.au, or you can do ACERN, which is acern.com.au. And I'm on Facebook as well. Just Google Mary Rodwell and you'll have various links that will take you to me. So, yeah, that's all you need, really.
Well, thank you so much, Mary. You're awesome. I love all of you so much. And I just appreciate your time and what you guys are doing with humanity, for humanity, in your heart of love and integrity. And I've been able to hang out with James and Peter in real life. Mary, I haven't been with in the physical 3D, but we've been on the phone many times, and I've had many hours with being with her. And you guys can actually, believe me, these are the real deal. These guys are love on legs. Pure-hearted people of integrity that really only seek the truth, that are really just in this for no other reason except for this is their call and their purpose, because who would pick this on purpose? So, you guys can really, really gain a lot of understanding through their books, through their content, their videos. And I really do hope that you will jump in and keep this conversation going through other venues and other ways. And I hope to have you back again. This was fun on a personal level. I just love you both. I love you all. And I can't even believe that we got all together, because I've had you separately. And James, I'll have to have you individually sometime, but this is cool to have everybody together. And especially in this time in the season. I mean, this is such a crazy time. So
guys, thank you for putting this together. You got all the favorites, my favorites together here, so we can all, support each other and bring this information out. So it's something so necessary right now, and keep up the great work that you're doing as well.
Awesome. All right, guys. And you can go to swiftfire.org. If you go to swiftfire.org, get on the newsletter, because we have had strikes. I had the channel taken down. I've had, all the things that every one of us have had issues with. And that is the best way that you will find me and what's actually happening and what's going on and who I have coming up next. And just whatever teachings and bioscans and books and all the things that we have are great resources too. But love you guys so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. And thank you all, audience, people, lovers. I love you guys so much. All you guys who have come to hang out with us in this bit, please do share, tag, let people know about this. Again, I cannot emphasize that enough. You never know who you're going to ignite and what that will help to do to the collective, as just people get one little sound bite and they're like, oh my gosh, and it starts a whole new thing. So please do share. And I hope to have you guys back again. I think that would be super fun. And have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
We'll talk soon. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.